G'day, welcome to Oly35mm, user-based, quasi-empirical, cheap and cheerful videos on Olympus 35mm cameras. And today I want to talk to you about the OM-101, or in this case the OM-88, which was the American version of it. But before I do, I'd like to take you back to another video which was on another camera, which was the Olympus 707, or the Olympus 77 as it was known in America. And you may remember, if you've seen this video of mine, that I was less than impressed with this. 1986 came along, there was autofocus was starting to come out in SLR cameras. Other camera manufacturers had started to do quite a good job, and for whatever reason Olympus just didn't get it right. The OM-77, 707 was a bit of a flop, and I certainly wasn't very impressed with it, as you'll find out from my video. So 2 years later, the OM-101 or OM-88 came along. And rather than go for autofocus, it had a power focus facility on it, where rather than changing a focus through a ring on the lens, you actually used this little knurled ring on the back to actually guide a motor which was inside the unit and focus that way. Seems a bit weird. However, I've run a couple of rolls through this and I've actually found it quite responsive and also quite easy to use. The focusing screen on the OM-101 or OM-88, as this model is, the American model, is really bright, even more so than the OM-1, OM-2. Really nice to use, very easy to power focus with. Basically 3 swishes of the knurled ring and you go from closest focus to infinity focus, which is quite handy. Alright, so a little bit about the camera itself. The camera had an OM mount, but not a standard OM mount. It actually had, if I just take this off, it actually had a little power focus button, the levery twisty dial thing. It was a dial actually, I suppose, which actually managed to actuate the motor. In fact, let me grab the OM-707. Let me just show you this is the power focus. Hopefully you can see that. It says power focus. The power focus 35 to 70mm lens, and the OM-77 had what looked identical, only didn't have power focus written on the bottom, almost the identical lens there, but you may notice that if I take this off, this has 3 little electrical connectors there, which then fitted in with the OM-707 electrical connectors there. So don't get these two mixed up. You can actually use the AF lens. In fact, you can use all 8 AF lenses that came out with the OM-707 with the power focus of the OM-88. However, what you can't do is use the power focus lenses, which is the 50mm and the 35 to 70mm. You cannot use those on the OM-707, on the OM-77, so just be a little bit careful if you decide you want to own both. Okay, let's put the 50mm f2 back on. Alrighty, so what have we got with this camera? It's basically a program camera where it picks both the shutter speed and the aperture for you. However, you do have the opportunity of the manual adapter 2, which is this little fella that just screws on the front with a just with the coin, which will give you then aperture preferred automatic or fully manual. Now, in the viewfinder, you will find that there's the P setting when it's set to, I'll just swing it around here, I'll use my Olympus pen, see, Olympus pen, with a P setting. In the viewfinder, you'll find there's a P on the left hand side, and that will flash if it's anything less than 60th of a second. On the automatic setting, of course, with the manual adapter 2 on, it will actually give you an A setting, a single A in the left hand side of the viewfinder, a little LED, and that will flash if it's less than a 30th of a second. And then you have the fully manual capability, and that will give you an M, sorry, my apologies, it won't give you an M, it will give you two little arrows, an up and down arrow, and as you change the aperture and the shutter speed on the manual adapter, then you will get the arrows either moving up or down, and both of them will light up when the exposure is correct. And there's also a battery check. If you take your little lever all the way forward, you'll see that there's a little, hopefully the little light will come on and a little noise will come on, and that will also be used in the self timer mode as well, which is actually, grab my Olympus pen again, is actually sitting on the top. So what have we got on the top? We've got the power focus, as I've shown you, the shutter button, the self timer, you have your frame counter, you have your exposure, I suppose it is exposure dial, you have off, battery check, program, automatic, manual, and you have your two strap lugs. On the front, and this has a 1.5 plus 1.5 stop exposure compensation for backlight, so you have your backlight compensation. You have your lens removal button, and you have a little red mark there, as you normally do on most OMs, or in fact all of the OMs that I've ever seen. And that's about it for the front. The back, all you've got is the little indicator for your film. On the bottom, you have your rewind button, and this model, this particular unit, I don't know about this model, but this particular unit, when it gets to the end of the film, I find I actually have to press in this button to rewind it. Those of you that may have one of these models, if it automatically rewinds, can you please let me know in the comments below, because I haven't been able to get either the original OM-101 I had or the OM-88 to do that. I actually had to press in this button to rewind when I got to the end of the film. It just stopped. You have your battery, your battery cover there, and it takes 4 AAA size batteries, which is quite handy. Easily got at the local supermarket or a department store or chemist store, drug store if you need to. And it's got a standard tripod socket as well on the bottom. So we have a DX coating. So you have ISO 25 through the 3200. I believe it will automatically set it to itself to ISO 100. I know its big brother, the 707, does. Resets itself to ISO 100 if you have non-DX coated film. I'm guessing this one does the same, but I can't guarantee you that. So ISO 25 to 3200. It has shutter speeds of 2 seconds and a little bit slow. You have the bulb setting in the manual. Where am I? That's it there. Yeah, there's a bulb setting around there, and there's also an X-Sync as well with it for the flash, and it goes up to a 2,000th of a second. So 2 to 2,000th of a second. What else can I tell you about this fella? It's nice to use. They used to push it as one-handed operation. I'll be honest with you, it's alright. It's about 600 grams, a little bit more with the 50mm lens. But you get a bit sick of using a one-handed operation, and it's not as stable. So I would suggest, like any sort of normal SLR camera, that you use it two-handed. But it can be used, all the functions are one-handed if you wish. Lovely sharp lenses, as always. You can use the AF lenses, the 8 AF lenses that came out with the 707, as I said, but of course you can use the normal range of OM lenses and just manually focus them if you wish. Alright then, that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.